For my critical lens synthesis project, I chose to focus on the feminism lens. And for my project, I decided to share about my experiences in 3 different countries that I've visited and what I've noticed about how they treat women there compared to men. One place that I visited and noticed the feminist ideology and how men are seen to hold the power in society was when I was in Italy. This is a restaurant there. At almost every restaurant we visited, my mom, dad, sister, and I would sit down and be given menus, but my dad's menu was the only one with prices on it. This meant that the restaurants assumed that the man of the family would be the one paying for the meal, and therefore only gave him the one with prices. This was especially frustrating because my mom actually earns more than my dad and paid for much of the trip. This reminded me of the show The Maid that we watched in class, because in the show, Sean went on about how he provides for his wife and how he is the moneymaker in the family. This reflects how society categorizes men as the moneymakers in the family that provide for everybody else. A place that gave me a total cultural shock was Dubai. Going into Dubai, I had no idea about all of the laws against women. When I visited in 2017, women were still not allowed to drive and did not become allowed to do so until the following year. In addition, the women in Dubai had to dress according to what their husband wanted. I couldn't even see most of the women's faces because their husbands wanted them fully covered. Though this is their religion, I found it very sad that men could wear whatever they wanted, but women had to wear black head to toe. Something that was interesting was when my family and I were at an outdoor mall there on New Year's Eve, and there was a DJ and tons of people dancing. I didn't even realize it until a few minutes in, but me and my sister were the only girls on the dance floor dancing. I looked around, and there were tons of men, but their wives were all standing on the sides waiting for them. We learned that this is considered inappropriate for women to dance in public in Dubai, and that we should not do that anymore. All this made me realize just how behind some countries are compared to the United States. While the U.S. still has many issues with equality between males and females, we are very ahead of other countries in terms of bridging the gap. The last country I'll be talking about was my trip to Kenya. We visited a few elementary schools here. We noticed that the majority of classes were boys and had very few, if any, girls. Our guide informed us that most families cannot afford to send their children to school, but if they can't afford to send one of them, they almost always pick the boy, because in their society, boys are more likely to succeed than girls. Another issue is that girls have trouble attending school when they're on their period because they cannot afford feminine products such as pads. The few girls that do go to school often have to stay home for a week every month because of their period, which automatically puts them at a disadvantage. Our guide told us that while the boys are in school, their sisters are working in the fields all day. This made me realize that men are set up for success from when they are just a few years old, compared to women who have to work much harder to be successful there. This also showed me that society picks men as the more successful gender rather than women. To wrap things up, the experiences I have had in regards to the feminism ideology have varied throughout different parts of the world, but it definitely does exist everywhere, just to different extents. While the male supremacy problems in the U.S. may seem large to us, traveling has opened my eyes to how much farther ahead the U.S. is in ending the stereotype of men holding the power compared to other countries in the world.